Hello, my name is Kristen Rodriguez, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my study abroad experience through NSCU, a bit about how it affected me, why I decided to go, and just give you guys a little bit of information on how my trip went. So, just to start off, the study abroad the experience that I had was with the Honors College. I took an Honors College class that was entitled Medical London, and within this class, we had a week-long trip to visit London and conduct some research of our own on a medical topic of our choosing. So this picture over here is a picture of me, very excited, in my Commons dorm room, getting all packed up and ready to go and leave for my flight. This was a photo that I took from the British Library. It was very, very funny. I took a picture of it and I sent it to all my family, like, guys, I'm traveling. Because fun fact, no one in my family actually has a passport. We're all from Puerto Rico, so US Commonwealth, we don't need a passport, and we've never had the ability to travel before. So therefore, getting on this flight over here and going on a very, very long flight was an absolutely amazing journey. And I took this trip in my spring break of my freshman year in 2019. So it was a relatively small class, and we went along with two of our professors. As I stated before, it was my first time out of the country. I had to get my passport. There was a lot of things that I had to work out. So just to start off, I decided to go abroad the moment that I heard about this class. I remember it was my first week at NSU as a freshman, and I went to an honors a college program, and they told us about this class that they would be having next semester. And I called my mom immediately, and I was sobbing, crying. And I said, Mom, I'm finally going to be able to do it. I'm finally going to be able to travel. And on top of all that, it was to my dream destination. So growing up, I have always, always wanted to travel to London, to England, mainly just because of my affinity for various TV shows like Doctor Who and things like that. But it was always my dream. So the second that I heard about this class, this course, I decided that it was my time to go abroad, and I would do whatever it took to accomplish this goal of mine. So as I stated, I did have a few challenges while I was going through the process. I had to get my passport for the first time. It was my first time flying out of the country. No one in my family's flown out of the country, so I had to go to the study abroad office and just ask them a bunch of questions like, what do I do? How do I get money when I'm over there? I had to call my credit card. I had to do a bunch of these different things in order to just prepare to go there. And that was just the logistical side of it. On top of that, when I went, I had to create an entire itinerary to make sure that I was making use of my full 7 days there as best I could. But all in all, I was able to overcome many of these challenges just by seeking out guidance from the Sharks Abroad office, from my advisors, and every office at NSU was just very, very helpful. On top of that, it made it all better that it was helpful in order to get funding and finance for this as well, which was absolutely amazing. So this was my flight. It was amazing. I was absolutely stunned. So on my flight, we left at about 5:30. So we were in the air during the nighttime. The amount of stars that I saw actually blew me away. I couldn't believe it. So 216 hours, that wasn't the time of the flight. That's the amount of time that we were in London for. I calculated it. There was 10 of us, one country, and two dogs. I will get to the dogs in a moment. So there was a lot of things that surprised me about studying abroad. I was honestly quite nervous for it. Like I said, I'd never gone out of the country. No one that I live with or my family has gone out of the country. So I was just absolutely terrified, to be quite honest. But what surprised me about studying abroad was that it actually didn't feel like a terrifying experience. It was absolutely remarkable. I felt so supported by the NSU staff. I knew that I could reach out to anybody if I had any worries. And also, I was shocked by how independent I felt I could be. Once I was there and I got into the swing of things, it just felt second nature to go exploring and to interact with all of these different cultures and experiences. And I was just stunned at how how much your viewpoint can expand when you study abroad. I didn't realize, honestly, that I had such a small viewpoint of the world. But once I started traveling, and this was my first traveling experience, I just realized that your view of the world really does change. Traveling really does enhance your view in a way that you could never do without it. So it was absolutely remarkable. And we arrived there on Sunday morning. It was absolutely, absolutely amazing. My personal life as I was traveling abroad was wonderful. We went on a lot of different trips with either myself or with the students that I was there with, but also just for academic wise, we went on a lot of trips. I visited several museums and I wrote up a whole entire research report on the places that I went. And I was basically studying the medical field in terms of psychology and psychological advances in the mental health arena. So our first stop when we got there was the flats. Oh my goodness, just to say that I had a flat was absolutely stunning. And I was absolutely amazed. Then, as I stated, there were some galleries, some museums, and other places that we went to in order to advance the academic side of our journey, which was our personal research. So my intent was to research the progression of the psychological field within England from the perspective of the medical perspective, and also try and get a bit of the societal perspective as well. For the societal perspective, I did visit different galleries and portraits to try to observe different paintings and just artwork in general that were created throughout the times, and try to get kind of a grasp from interpretation of those various portraits and paintings and artworks about what mental health was looked at, how was societal viewing mental health at that time, and how it has progressed. And from there, I went and took my research to the more academic side of things, and I went to I got to visit Bethlehem, I got to visit the Royal Pharmaceutical Society, and got to know a little bit more about exactly how the treatments, the actual medication my apologies, the actual medications that were available to people, how that progressed as well. So we got to visit a lot of amazing places outside of our academic journey. It was actually shockingly easy for me to get used to this and to enjoy my study abroad experiences. And so these were some of the museums that we visited, some of the paintings that I saw. I got to visit some of the paintings of my most famous artist, which is Vincent van Gogh. And so that was absolutely remarkable. Like I said, we got well adjusted quite quickly to just traveling abroad and adjusting to a new environment. So on the first day there, we were making sure that we were following things, trying not to be as touristy as we could be. So standing on the right side of the escalator, going to the shop, getting all of our groceries. It was an absolutely amazing time. From bus trips to late night walks and rainy days, I can't say that there wasn't an aspect that I did not enjoy. And once again, with all of the support that we have, it just felt absolutely amazing to be able to be there and take full advantage. I felt that I was really able to complete all of my objectives, both academically and personally, that I had when I set out to attend the Medical London class. And it was just an amazing experience. So on day two, just going to take you through a little bit of my journey. We got to visit, there we go. Oh, sorry. Oops. So on day two, we got to see the Royal Change in Guards, which was actually really, really interesting. We had somebody taking us around and telling us a little bit about, just British history and the different traditions that they have. So learning about the culture too was actually an amazing time. And then we got to travel a bit. So we went to Neal's Yard, we went to the Art District, we went to Chinatown. There's a lot of different things that we did. And like I said, we did not look like tourists. We became pros at navigating the transportation system by our second day, standing on the right side of the escalator, really understanding how to get from place to place. And by my third day, I was up and ready and traveling on my own. So some more places that we went to, not only for our personal academic research, but also just to gain a bit more understanding about the culture of the place that we were in. We got to visit Westminster Abbey, Buckingham Palace, the Science Museum, the Natural History Museum, and all of that was just really, really amazing to see. And we went on long walks from different parts of London. We walked a lot. And then we also just got to get a little bit of the local cuisine, which is absolutely amazing. And like I mentioned before, we got to see the changing of the guards and learn a little bit about the culture of the place that we were staying in. But moreover, just walking around and experiencing the culture itself was absolutely amazing. This sign here, I found it pretty funny. It says, "Beware, horses may kick or bite you." But yeah, so then we got to go on different places that might be a little more touristy, like the London Eye. Sadly, Big Ben was under construction, so we kind of saw him, kind of didn't. But we did a lot of things together that were absolutely amazing. We also went to a lot of different museums. Like I said, I went to certain museums for my academic research, but also just for my personal enjoyment. I love dinosaurs. I'm absolutely obsessed with, we got to see the DNA structure in its original creation. So it was really, really academically fulfilling in both terms of my own personal research that I was conducting at the time, but also just in terms of learning about the world from different cultures and just from traveling, going to all those different museums that I normally wouldn't have access to. Like I said, I went with a group of students, so when we did travel together, it was amazing. We definitely traveled a lot to taste the local cuisine and to just experience new things together. So it was a really, really fun time. So then on day 3, I know you're probably thinking, wow, you guys did so much. You're only on day 3. Yes, we did do a lot. But we got to visit a little bit more of the cultural side. We went to different establishments and even went to some of the major churches that were established there. And then just walking around, absolutely amazing. So going more into the academic side of what we were doing, we got to visit the Alexander Fleming lab, the Bart's pathology lab. We actually got access to a lot of different labs and museums that normally only medical students are allowed access to, or even medical professionals. But since we were going on this academic trip from NSU, we got access to a lot of amazing places, a lot of places that I also couldn't take pictures in, obviously. But I got to even see from the various treatment methods and things like that, to see that progression. We also even got to see mummification in current and present day, which was absolutely amazing. And then after, we had to throw in some exploring as well. We got to see different things in a bunch of different areas all across London. And then going back, we got to visit a few more a few more museums and cathedrals to really delve more into, not only for me personally, the societal part of my research, but also just, again, that cultural exchange, which was absolutely amazing. We got to stand outside Shakespeare's Globe, another absolute dream of mine. So that was stunning. And then, as always, we finished off with some more cuisine, because we can't visit someplace and not experience the local cuisine as well. So, like I said, by the second, third day, I was up and traveling on my own. I got to visit some places that, like I mentioned before, were absolute dreams of mine, because I am a fanatic for different TV shows and just experiences that originated in London. So from, obviously 221B Baker Street, visiting the home of Sherlock Holmes himself was absolutely amazing. I also got to visit the TARDIS and things like that. Sorry, my slides are going a little bit weird. The TARDIS, platform 9 3/4. These were all just amazing experiences. So moving forward, like I said, again, just visiting more museums and things like that. This was actually an etching from one of Van Gogh's doctors, the doctor that treated him in the later part of his life. And it's really interesting because Vincent van Gogh, though he is one of my favorite painters, he is also somebody of renowned interest when it comes to the mental health field, just because there's a lot of skepticism and debate on how Vincent van Gogh lived his life and the mental health difficulties that he experienced. So it was quite interesting viewing his work as well to get a little bit more input on my research, but also just going to like the British Library and things like that obviously provided immense educational opportunities to myself and also to my research, and also to just the geek side of me, where I got to see the Alan Turing Enigma machine, another person that I absolutely admire, and just viewing different collections that were available in these museums. Going forward, I didn't only seek out educational information for my personal academic research, but we also sought it out just for the medical field in general. So one of the places that we got to visit was the old operating theater. It was absolutely amazing to learn about the history of medicine and how it has progressed, and the fact that surgery used to take place right there, right on those benches. So that was amazing. And from there, we also got to learn a little bit about the history of body snatching, which was very prevalent. And so there was a lot of interesting things. We visited a place where the locals of this area are quite profound of keeping it intact, this kind of graveyard for different individuals who were around during this time of body snatching and maybe fell victim to it, or etc. And there's a whole memorial wall there that I sadly didn't get to take a picture of, but it was really interesting to hear from the local community about why this had such importance to them and learn a little bit about their history. And it was absolutely amazing. And then going from there, we got to travel a bit more throughout the museums and throughout more cuisine, because those are the two main spots that you have to hit when you go traveling. As I mentioned before, I also got the chance to visit the Royal Pharmaceutical Society Museum. It was here that I have to say I got the most out of my academic side of my research. I was really able to see the progression of the psychological treatments that were available throughout time. So starting off with no treatment at all, then progressing to treatment that we would now consider quite harsh, and even progressing up to present day treatment, as you can see in this picture over here, where we can see a lot of the common brand names of the psychological drugs that we have today. It was really, really interesting. And also the individuals there were absolutely wonderful to talk to. They were engaging. I think I stood there for hours just talking to them about that progression in the psychological field, and it was just an amazing experience. After that, again, I had to start traveling on my own. I visited lots of places. This is not the London Bridge, but the London Bridge is not falling down. This is Tower Bridge. So it was absolutely amazing to see, and just the different castles and things around. Oh my goodness, I can't even begin to say how much of a dream it was. Going forward, this was Little Italy. Me and the students that were there got to travel and visit a few more places and just have adventures with each other. So this was probably the absolute most favorite part of my journey, was visiting this Royal Bethlehem Hospital. If you guys have ever heard the term Bedlam, this is where it originated. So this Bethlehem Hospital was the place where psychiatric facilities were first born in England. And obviously, the field of psychiatry and psychological treatment has a quite dark history. So being able to go there and just learn about the progression, they are still a functioning facility today, obviously in different means, but just seeing that progression, seeing the documentation, and even the artwork that was presented in order to show this progression was absolutely amazing. Over here, they had two different types of kind of depression in a way, from mania to just a quite somber type of depression. And they had different artwork. It was just amazing to see the artwork that they presented in order to showcase that progression and the differences in the viewpoints of psychological treatment and psychological ailments as well. Then going from there, Nando's became my absolute favorite place to eat in the world. I'm so sad that we only have one in the United States. I'm pretty sure it's in DC, and there's no way that it can be possibly as good as the Nando's that are on every single block when you go to England. Then getting a little bit more and more immersed in the culture, we sadly did not get to go to Shakespeare's Globe. It was all booked, but we did get to go to the theater district and see The Curious Incident of the Dog at Midnight, which I personally didn't think I was one for plays before, but that completely changed once we visited this and I was able to see that play. It was an absolutely amazing experience, and I'm so grateful for our professors who set all of this up and who were so helpful in us just planning our itineraries, because as you can see, I'm taking you day by day. My itinerary was planned and it did not stray. I really was making the best out of all of the time that I had there. So day 6, we're nearing the end of our journey. We got to visit a few more museums and things like that. There were museums, and art galleries and just a bunch of different places on the itinerary every single day. Like I said, our experience was very, very fulfilled and it was absolutely wonderful. I definitely want to continue traveling abroad, and I would love to travel abroad in a study abroad program if I can continue to do so. So some of the places that we got to see were the Burlington House, the Linnaean Society, the people that were taking us through these different tours that we had at these different museums, societies, galleries were absolutely amazing. They were just so knowledgeable and so willing to share, and seeing all of these different private collections and just learning about the history of whether it was the medical field, the scientific field, or even just the culture was such an amazing experience. So these were some places, some things that we got to see at the Linnaean Society. There were so many classifications and preservatives of different animals that we got to see, well documented from, I mean, years and hundreds of years dating back. So that was just stunning to be able to see that in person rather than just looking it up and possibly seeing it online. Then, like I said, there were some places that I could not take photos of. So the Gordon Museum was one of my favorite places to visit as well. It was kind of like Bart's Museum, but a bit more intricate than that. This is where we got to see the mummification that took place in present day to try to get a grasp on how mummification used to take place in Egyptian times. So this was absolutely stunning. Again, the guides there just were so knowledgeable and helped us so much in everything that we were looking to seek. Then after that, we did go and travel a bit more to get more associated with the place that we were staying. So I'm sure that many of you have heard of Hyde Park. It's a huge park in the middle of London, and the animals there, oh my goodness, I got to feed a peacock. I got birds on me. I was feeding the friendliest of squirrels and ducks, and it was just an absolutely amazing experience. Then from more parks and even visiting places like Harrods, it was just absolutely amazing to feel like I was really part of the culture and learning more about it. And I really just felt so supported and comfortable in traveling. Like I said, look at that, got to feed a peacock, just strolling in the park. And then day 7. So on day 7, I decided that I would be a bit brave and travel a few hours out from London and go a bit to the countryside, maybe not the countryside, more the seaside. But I visited Brighton. So when I was in Brighton, I was going up and down the boardwalk, visiting different restaurants, and then I decided, let me stop and pose for some pictures. And mind you, this was a very, very cold weather. It was about maybe March in London, which is cold. It's not warm during that time. So I sat down by the sea and got completely attacked by the very harsh waves and was very cold, but still enjoying my journey. I got to visit a few different places around there, get to know how the cuisine differs. There were some things on the menu that are called the same things that we might have here, but they definitely were not the same things. So this over here was an American style breakfast. It was just basically the meal that had the most amount of food. And then I just decided to walk around. Honestly, that was one of my favorite parts of studying abroad as well, just being able to feel comfortable in the new environment that I was in and explore. It was such an amazing experience. So I spent way too much money at the pier playing different tin can games and just exploring and even talking to people, just talking to different people that were going by and asking them what their favorite place was, what they enjoyed about living here, and just asking them to tell me a bit more about their daily lives and how it is, and just learning about that cultural exchange and being able to experience it. Again, I can't say it enough, was absolutely amazing. There was a bunch of different food. We actually got to interact with some other NSU students that were studying abroad there, but for a lengthier amount of time. So it was absolutely amazing. And just to let you know, the ice cream machine does not work in London as well. So that was really, really funny. But this was first day to last day, kind of took you guys on a quick journey throughout all of my days there. So basically it comprised of academic experiences, research, personal endeavors, just growth all around. It was an absolutely amazing experience. And if you are considering going abroad, and advice that I would give to anybody going abroad would be, firstly, seek support. studying abroad can be something that's truly a bit scary, especially if you've never done it before. But NSU just has such an amazing support team that I felt completely comfortable in a way that I didn't realize I was going to be able to feel when I was traveling across the ocean. So seeking support would be the most amazing thing. And after that, just really finding ways to plan your time there and to enjoy your time there. Seek things that are both going to promote your growth in an academic way and also in a personal way. Really interact with the culture and the environment, because studying abroad is an experience that it it doesn't even compare to the growth that I personally had in any other way. So just the fact that my mindset changed so much and widened to be so much more inclusive, that's something that I don't think could have happened if I didn't start my traveling journey. And I'm just so glad that I was able to start my traveling journey with a study abroad experience that gave me so many different opportunities, supported me so much, and just allowed me the opportunity for so much growth. And I was able to accomplish so many of my goals traveling abroad, and it was absolutely stunning. It was the experience of a lifetime. So thank you, NSU. Thank you to the Study Abroad office. And I just can't express how grateful I am to have had this experience and to have been able to study abroad. And I truly, truly hope to be able to continue to do so, because this isn't something that I thought I'd be able to do. It truly isn't. Growing up, we just didn't have the financial resources or even the information and education to feel comfortable going abroad or to have that opportunity. So the fact that I was able to start this the second that I got to NSU, it's just something that I know I'm going to pursue as I grow up. And I know that NSU will always be there to aid me in my endeavors. And I look forward to all of the further experiences that I have to study abroad. It's definitely the highlight experience of my entire life. And I know that my future traveling will be as well. So thank you so much for listening about my study abroad experience. And thank you for allowing me to share that with you. I hope that that was a bit informative, and I hope that you enjoyed seeing my journey.